Coach Howard Schnellenberger. I hope you're doing well, sir. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Well, it's delightful to be with you again. It looks like we're inching up on a new season.
Absolutely. 72 days away, to be exact, from college football.
Is that right? I knew I could get an accurate accounting of that.
Well, in Tuscaloosa, we start at like 2:30 back. And so 72 seems short from where we started at 2:30, 2:40 back.
Yeah, it's hard to live that long, isn't it? You fight your way through baseball, through basketball, through golf and all that stuff. The dog days of summer, and then finally in August we get to see some light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Coach, you're visiting Kentucky right now, and I know we've got a little local tie here. Nick Saban's going to be receiving the Blaine Collier Award tomorrow, but talk about why you're in Kentucky this week.
Yeah, we're in Kentucky because they have a strange thing called the Kentucky National Football League Hall of Fame, and it's made up of players that are Hall of Famers in the NFL, but who are not quite good enough to get there. And we have a Minifield, the old running back out of the University of Kentucky, started this Hall of Fame maybe 10 years ago now. And I found out when I got here that Nick Saban is being honored in the most prestigious of all the awards given out here, the Blaine Collier Award for humanity and for the great mark he made on American football.
Coach, I want to talk a little bit about quarterback development, and I want to start back at the recruiting process because you have coached some legendary quarterbacks in college football that went on to have very successful careers. But I want to start on the recruiting front. When you would look for a quarterback and you would go through evaluating, what were you looking for in your next future great quarterback?
Well, that's a very in-depth question, and it's probably the most important individual phase of developing a football team is who's going to be the trigger man, who's going to be the general of the offense that you decide on running. And the most important thing of all is to decide on what your offense is going to be. Throughout my career, after being with Blaine Collier at Kentucky and playing Canadian football and going up to the Browns camp, we decided that even for college, not just for the pros, but the Paul Brown style of offense is the most productive and it's hardest to defend against. And if you can get the right man at the quarterback position, then you have a good shot that if the rest of your talent is good, it doesn't have to be extraordinary, but it is good. And you get a few great defensive players, a couple of defensive ends, and a tackle, and a middle linebacker in the corner, and a standard offense. You can have a great offense. So that's what we did, and probably the best example of that was at Alabama when I was brought down to Alabama with Coach Bryant. He Pat Tramble was the quarterback, and they had 3-4 years of getting ready to win the national championship. But that he wanted to have a pro-style attack because it had been so good for it at the University of Kentucky with Ray Pirelli and George Blanda and those guys. So you have to set parameters. So a good example is at the University of Miami when we had Jim Kelly as our quarterback, and we had to get some more quarterbacks in there. I told my staff we're going to go across the country and find and grade and evaluate and come up with the 10 best quarterbacks, and we did that. And then we narrowed it down to 3. We recruited them hard. It was a test of it was a Coulthard, Testaverde, and a kid named Vanderveer. And when we got those guys, one from Long Island, one from Beaver Falls, and one from down here in Miami, we had three of the best out of the 10. So it gave us an opportunity to grow and develop and win at the University of Miami. But it takes a guy that has a great arm, but most of all, he's a great leader and an unselfish person that will lead the team.
Coach, it's funny that you worked that last talk about the unselfish, to be able to give to the team. I go back to in the early 80s, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was doing my research today, and on one roster, you had Jim Kelly, Mark Richt was the backup, and I do want to talk about Mark Richt there, what he's been able to do at Georgia, Vinny Testaverde, and then a freshman by the name of Bernie Kosar. How difficult is it to manage those personalities when you've got that much talent at the quarterback position?
Well, it's good that you have them staggered. Jim Kelly was 1 year ahead of Testaverde and Vanderveer, and of course Mark Richt was the same class as Jim Kelly. So it becomes difficult when you have two really great ones in the same year. But you can do it if you have brought in the kind of kids with the right kind of an attitude about themselves and about their development process. And it's inevitable that there'll be sometimes you'll get into a situation where you've got to have a competition, whether it be in the spring and in the summer, and then into the fall, and from year to year, that you decide who's the best one, and then who's going to be the backup, and then who's going to be the guy that's on deck. And but that's the important thing about it is you brought in a guy that knows that if I'm Bernie Kosar and Vinny Testaverde and I'm behind a year behind them in school, that even though they're a second or a third teamer, they've got to be ready to go because they're only as far back as one play. One play you get injured, you're out of it, and you suddenly go from number 2 to number 1. And so it's very important that you have the caliber of kid that not only is happy where he is, and the offense suits him completely, and prepares him for the great opportunity to play in the National Football League. That you can get them where they're not happy, but they're willing to be number 2 to a guy that's doing a good job at number 1, and will be prepared when his day comes.
We are talking to a legend, Howard Schnellenberger, here on a throwback edition presented by Brian Harden Construction. 3 national titles at the University of Alabama. Went on to win a big one there in the Miami Dolphins organization, 1972 undefeated season. You go back to the days of starting the Miami dynasty, Louisville, certainly the amazing run there. Howard Schnellenberger right now inside the game. And I'm sorry I'm picking your brain so much on quarterbacks, but we don't get a chance to talk that much quarterback here, and it's been a major topic here of, developing a guy. Do you go, if you've got a younger player that is at least equal to an older player, do you go with that younger guy, or do you trust the older guy? It's been a big debate here in Tuscaloosa because Alabama is, if you look at their team, they've got a national championship team, but they need a quarterback that can manage the game, not make mistakes, and turn it over to a very talented defense when the opportunity doesn't exist.
Well, it's one of the things that Alabama has had that has made it so superior. They've always had a rock hard defense that allows you to have some leeway as you develop your team and as you go from game to game. I remember in 1961 when Bryant won his first national championship. The defense held the offenses that we played at an average of 2 points a game. When you have that kind of a backup to it, then
Coach, was that the greatest defense that in college in your over 50 years of coaching? Is that the greatest defense? Okay.
I'm sure there's something that back in the old days that was better than that, but I'm not sure that it is. But that's near perfect. Less than a field goal a game. All you have to do out there is make sure you don't throw an interception and fumble, and run the ball enough times that you're going to score 10 points or 12 or 15. But that was another period, and the period we're talking about now, where you've got a top of the line quarterback, you can expect to score 21, 28 points a game, and sometimes that's not enough.
Coach, I got 2 more questions here. I want to ask you, going back, and you were talking about the pro offense. I know it's changed. It's got different looks than what it was back in the 60s and as you transferred throughout college football in the 80s and the 90s and where it is now. But the pro system obviously still works. I mean, it's a system that it's not a trend. This hurry-up, no-huddle right now that we're seeing in college football, do you believe that that's a trend that will go away at some point?
Say again.
This hurry-up, no-huddle offense that's being run in college football, is this a trend that we're just going through a little phase?
I know. I'm not sure that it's a trend. I think it is a trend, but it could be. I hope it's not, but it could be the thing that is a result of the type of impediments that there's out there now for college coaches to the coach in the college game. There are so many deterrents from there to have that militaristic style of play and style of life, and the other time-consuming things, the amount of time you are spent in the classroom, and the amount of time, the number of games you play, and that this offense makes it so simple by running just a few running plays and not running traps and draws and screens and off-tackle power plays and things like that, where you have a whole gamut of things you could do. They go up there and they block right, block left, and they're going to throw the ball in 1.5 seconds, and you can't throw it much. Ball has to come out of your hand in 1.5, 1.7, 1.9 seconds. So it's a hurry up thing, but it's also a thing that produces points. But on the other hand, it takes away the opportunity to make touchdowns when you need to make more touchdowns than you do field goals, and gives you an offense that can come from behind.
Coaches, being a great offensive mind, do you like it at all? I mean, do you like this style?
Yeah. Well, I like it, but I don't think it. I think you gotta have the ability to play hard nosed, knock them back type of offense where you get on the 5-yard line, you can take 3 downs and knock it in there, or you can throw it once and run it twice. But to give you some diversity and to give you the comeback opportunity, it is a trend, and it's a good offense, and because some teams have done well, but the Alabamas and the LSU's and a lot of other teams still are using the pro style attack, and it's the most versatile and the most solid that there is of all.
Coach, final question. Howard Schnellenberger right now, howardschnellenberger.com, where you can get in touch with the book that he's have been talking about, and the stories that we're talking about tonight is all throughout the book, whether you're talking about the quarterbacks or your playing days there at Kentucky being an All-American, your coaching days here under Coach Bryant, the success in Miami, the success in Louisville. Coach, final question. When you look back at your legendary career, and names like Mark Richt, which is my favorite coach in the SEC. I enjoy watching him. He's a quality person. He played for you there in Miami. We've already mentioned that. But you have to take a sense of pride into having so many successful guys that you were able to mentor to go on to be not just great coaches, but great individuals. And Mark Richt's certainly one of those guys that stands out.
Yeah, he really is. And I had the pleasure about 3 years ago to introduce him to the Hall of Fame in West Palm Beach, and he was coming off of that great year he had up there, and we almost won the championship. And what a class person he is. He's got a great family and he's a great religious fellow, and he also stresses that was his football team through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and those kind of things. He's a class young man.
No doubt. Coach, I always enjoy our time. I hope you have a lot of fun hanging out tonight in Kentucky. You had a big banquet there. Nick Saban, I'm sure, is going to be there, and the Blaine Collier Award.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Nick, and I'm so happy that they picked him for the Blaine Collier Award, which is a big award here. Because Blanton Collier from Paris, Kentucky, he coached at Kentucky, and of course, he won the only World Championship after Paul Brown left the Cleveland Browns. He won it a time up there, and his family is still here. So it's a great award for Blanton, but it's also a great award for Nick, and for him to come in here, it's going to draw a crowd, and it's going to make this Hall of Fame here in Kentucky. Introduce it to the nation.